While most are in the house of mirth, you know, went and celebrated that bullshit, right? Things got turned up, right? I stay out of the Most High's way, especially when Esau has his wicked festivities. You know, not that looking at fireworks is a bad thing, but getting caught up in the celebration of America and the 250 years of slavery, you know, it's been a lot longer than that. You know, we've been under Esau even for some time, but celebrating Babylon is not something you should do if you're an elect Israelite, and we already know better anyways. Make sure this is recording, because sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, it's recording, but nonetheless so, you know. I stayed out of the Most High's way. I spent time with my German Shepherd and my Maltipom. As you know, my Maltipom is healing from a leg injury, you know, a severe break, but we're doing our own treatment because, again, you know, just doing what we can for her, but we had a pretty good day doing that, and of course being occupied in prophecy and watching what's going on. Well, here we go. Things getting turned up, right? Don't see any huge false flags, but I guess over another country they supposedly stopped some terror attacks. So, yeah, they still wanted to launch attacks against Iran. It's just a matter of using proxy. They probably are putting it off for a little while, you know, until they can come up with a good plan to try to attack Iran, even though Iran right now is also mourning their martyred leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. But here's what happened in, I believe this is Anaheim, another shooting, right? You know, because, and you just stay away from these fucking people, but our people, man, you know, they want to celebrate right along with the Edomites. So this is a death scene. Yeah, that looks like a Jake. Bring that yellow tape. Yep. Should be in the house of mourning. So, you get the idea, right? And now, just going to go straight over to a live lesson, right? Science Trump is Nero 2.0. If you don't know what that means, well, just pretty much, though, you know, you understand that Esau, the only way he's going to be determined and punished for what he'd done in his previous lives, if he's born again, if you understand regeneration, reincarnation, well, the reincarnate of Rome, Nero 2.0, is Donald Trump, also known as Nero 47, you know, because he's everything. And there's been facial, if you take the statues of Nero and you compare it to Trump, so many similarities, but just everything else. Nero always was there in the face of sports. Trump is always there in the face of sports. You know, there's no denying that, not to mention the ego is so high. And Nero was responsible for the crash of the old Rome system, and yet Babylon the Great is being brought down to the ground. Who did cuss the ground, right? You know, who did weaken the nations. So everything is being brought right before our eyes, as this brother from Hawaii goes into, and I'm gonna play some of it, and then of course read some more articles, right? You know, getting into prophecy, because you know, get this while you still can, while we're still teaching live, and you know, because eventually they're going to shut this down. As you know, they have more and more legislature to shut it all down, to pretty much take over the internet, get rid of VPNs. If you hadn't seen the previous video, yeah, they have plans to shut it all down, because Esau's being exposed. And where are the prophets exposing them? As you can see, forth of the lie. Apostles, a great millstone, we're teaching. Hopefully, get some audio here. Yeah, you just got to give it a few minutes anyways. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but hey, man, we're using his internet against him. Okay, I think he's about... There it is.
Mic check.
Yeah.
All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off with giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Yahweh Kakadash. On the same, give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, the great millstone for teaching us his word in truth and sincerity, and for ruling well, and salutations to the elect. Lord willing, where some of those men who believe in fear in the name of Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Yeah, my brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another live lesson. And the title of this lesson is Signs Trump is Nero 2.0. Right? And it was inspired by an excerpt from yesterday's live show from the apostles and the Bishop Sakawan. Title of that lesson is GMS Apostle Street Ministry is live 0704-2026. Now, yesterday was so-called 4th of July, which it was an underwhelming event, to say the least. Right? You know, Trump was putting a whole lot back behind this because America, you know, turned 250 years, and they expect another 250 years of American or Edomite dominance in the world. And you see, Trump is trying to take America back to when it was all right to be. It was all right to be all white, right? You know, catering to his nationalist ideologies, right? And erasing trying to erase the image that America has, which is a sword image across the world. Right? For the things that it has done to the people that were originally here, the Gadites, Issacharites, the Reubenites, to enslaving the Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, like Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, and continually oppressing us as a people, right? And so that's a thing that he doesn't like, right? And before I open up with the video and some of the information I found out through the Spirit, I want to get just the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, Habakkuk, chapter 2, and verse 16. I'll straight to it. This is Habakkuk 2:16. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh, Hashem Yahweh Shai's hand, a right hand, shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Right? So the judgment that that power is coming. That powerful right hook, right, is about to hit Esau square in the jaw and knock him out. Right? As he falls, what are you starting to see? His disgrace, his shame is being shown.
Yeah.
And NLT says, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced, because we as a nation, the Israelites, we have been disgraced, right? We have been, especially here in America, right? All throughout the Americas, North, Central, and South, but mainly here in North America, we've been highly disgraced by these people, but now it's their turn to be disgraced, right? So it says, but soon, in the NLT, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. Come, drink, and be exposed. We're being exposed. Esau's wickedness and evil. And he's trying to, when I say he, Trump, and his constituents and cohorts, they're trying to rebrand America as if this disgrace never happened, or this explosion of wickedness and evil didn't happen. I think it happened like his first term too. Like even before then, they were snatching down all these different statues of Esau's heroes. All his heroes were what? Murderers, chomos, enslavers, right? Exploiters, wicked men, evil men, right? And now they're trying to what? They're trying to restore that, and they're trying to restore that through pride. Like the scripture says, the pride, your pride has deceived you that dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks. Right? This man is proud. And he's a true proud devil. Like you about to hear Apostle Tahar say, man, this dude's he's a complete lowlife. He's a degenerate. Right? But he's trying to make himself in America great again. And that's not going to happen. It ain't the first time America ran on that term, great again. Ronald Reagan did the same thing.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan campaign slogan, make America great again, right? It says Ronald Reagan first popularized the campaign slogan, let's make America great again, right? During his successful 1980s presidential campaign. It's showing you that these the elite, they use the same formula over and over again, right? Same individuals from previous lifetimes are in these high-level positions today, right? The same, and they use same campaign slogans, right? They make a big deal of it and have you thinking that, oh, this is a new idea, a nationalist approach, Right? Ronald Reagan first popularized the campaign slogan, "Let's make America great again," which Trump just dropped the "let's" and then it's just MAGA, which goes back to witchcraft anyway. Right? Again, during his successful 1980 presidential campaign, facing a period of what? High inflation, unemployment, economic distress, which you had Joe Biden, he was like, build back better. And he didn't build anything better. He didn't do anything to build this place back better. In fact, what they did was they opened up the liberal floodgates and gave you all this weird, crazy nastiness. Right? So you don't get anything from the liberals or the conservatives, man. Right? It's going to be the same bullshit. Facing a period of high inflation, unemployment, and economic distress. Well, that's happening right now. Reagan used the phrase to inspire patriotism, and that's what Trump did. He tried to spark that patriotism, and like I said, yesterday was the so-called 4th of July. And at the ceremonies, it was underwhelming. It was really underwhelming. They tried to put that spirit of American pride. People were just there to see the fireworks, man. Right? Nobody was there celebrating America because America's been here for 250 years. Right? America has been at war for most of the time. Right? Let me see. How many years has America been at war? Right? So it says, depending on the definition used, the U.S. has been at war approximately 13 to 229 years. Yeah, well, it's 229 in them years. So America hit 250 years and today, or yesterday, and they've been at war for what, 229 of those years? Since 1776, accounting for roughly 92% of its history. There's been nothing but war. So there's never been a real time of peace in America. It was a short-lived, but because I think that America went through an isolation period prior to World War II. And then World War II was its coming out party, right? Prior to that, they were isolationists. It says an armed conflicts, it says legally declared wars. Congress has formally declared war 5 times. The War of 1812, the Mexican War, Spanish-American War, World War I, and World War II, which totals about 13 years of warfare. Armed conflict and interventions, broadening the definition to include undeclared conflicts, major military operations, Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the American Indian Wars. The U.S. has been in some form of active military conflict or armed intervention for over 220 years of its existence. And now you added what? You added another 9 years to that. That's almost 230. Right? So they're celebrating a country that was filled with war. Right? These are diabolical monsters. Right? It was never no real peace here. Esau never brought peace to the earth. Like the scripture says in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and it speaks about the red horse. Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. And who's the him? Esau Edom. He sits on that red horse, right? Starting with the bacon elite, right? Like what's the Rothschild's mother name? Schicklgruber. If my sons did not want war, there would be none, right? Adultery, Schnapper Rothschild, right? It said the statement reflects a famous 1815 quote by Guttel Schnapper Rothschild, matriarch of the Rothschild banking dynasty. When her sons were rumored to be funding wars, she reportedly replied, "If my sons did not want war, there would be none," because all these different wars that we were just reading, that we were looking at from 1812, even the wars that happened in Europe, they were sponsored and brought to you by the Rothschild family. When we was coming up in the 80s, watching them TV shows, they would tell you who the show was sponsored by. The show was sponsored by Campbell Soup. Brought to you in part by Campbell Soup. Well, that's what these wars in the world were brought to you in part by the Rothschild family, or in the whole, by the Rothschild family. If they didn't want war, there would be none. Right? It's showing you that Esau don't want peace. Why? Because peace gets in his way. So the scripture says in Revelation 6 and 4, it says, and there went out another horse, that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword, and that's Esau Edom. Right? So that have you thinking, the Christian church, that have you thinking that these are the last 4 horsemen. You know, you can hear that 4 horsemen, and shit, you watching X-Men, the Apocalypse, and his horsemen. Right? They come from the Revelation. But it ain't no real horse, in a red horse, a white horse, black horse, yellow horse, and then the man sitting on top of it. These are symbolic to things that are happening. Individuals with power, people that have been, particularly in chapter 6, verse 4, this is talking about a man. Who is that man? Esau Edom, right? He's that red driver. He's that red monster, right? He's the evil one. In the Rothschilds are Edomites. They're not Israelites. They're not Moabites. They ain't Japhites. Those are Edomites, right? And the Edomites represent this power, and they have what? They have power to take peace on the earth. that they should kill one another, and it was given to them great sword. So going back to here, it says these different wars that you see, they were sponsored by the Rothschilds, and they were brought to you. And then this dude, Reagan, he was running with that spirit of make America great again, and Trump did it too, right? Trump did it too, right? And they had you thinking that this man is somebody to be lauded, right? But, you know, and so without further ado, let me play this real quick.
Black thing to the attitude. I'm saying, what this world coming to? It's coming to an end. This place got to go. It's got to fucking go, man.
Right, here it is. That's beautiful that the apostle said that. He said that, what is this place coming to? This place got to go. It got to go, right? It's the end. And when things end, they always end terrible. They don't end great, right? It ends for a reason. And America is no different. So the 250 years that this man has taught it and lauded himself, which he made that whole thing yesterday about himself, like Nero. Nero was a self-consumed person. He was consumed with his self-image, right? But he ain't telling the average Americans that America is finished. It's the reason why they're running to the bank and they're robbing America, like right in front of you. Right? Trump is being allowed to enrich himself while he's in office. Now, many presidents do it, but they kind of do it behind closed doors. But Trump's like, fuck that. I'll let the world know, right? Because he's basically
like the ballroom being built.
He has immunity for whatever he does as president. They ain't gonna lock him up for becoming an ultra billionaire, or he's not even an ultra billionaire. He's like worth a few $1 billion supposedly on paper, right? But he's got all this access to all these high level deals, and people want to make deals with this guy, and he's enriching himself because he knows the store is closing. So he's robbing it. Him and his people, they're robbing it. They're robber barons right now. They're robbing America blind, and they know that the financial system is about to change. So they're trying to cushion themselves, and they know that America is about to be destroyed. It's about to go out. But the average American, you don't know that. You had all the people walking around.
They're retarded.
You know, it was mainly Edomites. It was mainly Edomites yesterday on posts, on military posts, to walk around all proud about this red, white, and blue. But you can tell the spirit of 4th of July just wasn't there, right? It just wasn't there. Like I said, most people that was there yesterday, they just wanted to see the fireworks. And them shits was close. Them shits was hitting people, fireworks was falling down on people and shit. Just like that image, the image when you see the image of the Edomite, that the paraglider, that the American paraglider, and he fell and shit. Right, military aircraft, America 2020, America 250, right? Satan's angels flying in the sky, right? Anyway, what was it? Paraglider, crash, right? The dude, he had this guy right here. This shit right here.
Watch them fall.
Dude, you want to take the air out this nigga's cells, man. And this is America. This is a sign that America is through, right? This dude had the American flag swinging. Like, he came down fast too, bro. Right? I saw the video. They were like, "Oh, we gotta make room for this dude." They took the tent down and everything. He was all jacked up, bro. He's out of there, bro. He probably broke a leg, but that's America. And you see how abruptly it went down. This is a sign, right? Us in the truth, we look at these things as signs, right? Like Elder Yachimama said, man, we take anything we get. You see 144 on a sign or what you call them, a license plate, we get excited, right? You know, well, how much more when we see America in their pride, right? Because what are you proud about? You're proud about the theft, robbery, rape, murder, right? The disenfranchisement and the oppression of the children of Israel. Not people, they're so fucking broken, so fucking broken, they're out here supporting this shit. Look, they're like somebody just snatched this. They literally took the wind out of this dude's cell. The angels did, man. The angels literally stopped the wind, bruh. The angels stopped the wind on this guy, bruh. And that's what America's, the wind is being snatched out of America's sails. And they're falling, right?
Yeah, no more wind beneath my wings.
Just like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Just like Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
They're fucking degenerate as a king. A low-life degenerate, bro. A complete and utter low-life, man. And we have, for the record, matter of fact, ask Chad a question. Does TMS refer to Donald Trump as Nero? Okay. That's how I'm saying.
Does TMS, Hebrew Israelite group, refers to Donald Trump as Nero?
Yeah, you can pull it up on the tablet.
Knocking them out the park.
Okay, the question is, does GMS, Hebrew Israelite group, Great Millstone,
See, we got, wait, we got the answer, Jason. Come on.
Does the GMS Hebrew Israelite group, yep. Does the GMS Hebrew Israelite group, Great Millstone, refer to Donald Trump as Nero? Yes, some teachers within Great Millstone have taught or speculated that Donald Trump is the reincarnation of the Roman Emperor Nero, or that he, or that.
Don't say all of this. When one teach all of it,
Right.
nobody got it.
That's right. Like the Elder Apostle Tahar said, when one teach, we all teach here in Great Millstone.
Yep.
And we believe it. And the Lord gives us signs to see that this man is who the Spirit is telling us he is. See, in this world, they want you to believe that reincarnation doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They want you to believe that you're just here for one off and that's it.
Yeah, you only have one life to live, etc.
Or as in Esau's words, die and go to heaven or hell. Okay. Die and go to hell. But no, that's not how it works, man. Everything is reincarnated, from kingdoms to peoples to inventions, animals. Everything is reincarnated in this world. Right? Everything goes through a cycle. So does the rulers. And it's the Yahweh Shema that set these rulers up because it is his will. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 17. The book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the Holy One, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men. Like you had this dude Trump running around here, I'm the chosen one, I'm the chosen one. Well, you're right, you are. Who chose you? Yahweh Shema. He put the spirit on them banking elites to prop you, the actor up, a failed businessman, a failed actor because you don't act that well, right? A semi-pro wrestler, right? They set you up and put you in office, allowed you to make money with your family. They had you thinking you were part of the ultra elite of America, had you raising your kids in these private schools, and you gave you the finest of women that you can't even please, knocking them up, having all these kids, extending your family line, right? To make you think that you were part of the in crowd. Right, so then what they put you back in office because you were a ruler in the past. He was Nero. He was Nero in the past. Okay, let me finish playing this.
Right. It says, yes, some teachers within Great Millstone have taught or speculated that Donald Trump is the reincarnation of the Roman Emperor Nero.
And we say all of this through faith. First and foremost, everything we say is through faith. In the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of truth, it's on us to say these things because we have a spiritual eye to discern these things. The average person doesn't have the spiritual eye to discern these things. So to them, it's like, oh, he's just a regular guy. Right? No, that nigga, that's Nero. And he still has the taste and the wants of the things that he had in the past. And I'm going to prove it.
Or that he fulfills a Nero role in biblical prophecy. This view is based on GMS's broader belief in reincarnation and their interpretation of passages such as Revelation the 13th chapter, Revelation the 17th chapter.
Right, because the scriptures tell us that in Revelation chapter 13, right? Well, let me make another point in Daniel 4 and 17. It's the Most High that put these people in office, but the scriptures also tell us in the book of Revelation chapter 13, verse 9 and 10, right? It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. How could this happen? Right? You put somebody in captivity, when do these other nations go into captivity? Like the last most terrible captivity we've been in is this one here in America, right? Which is nothing more than the second leg of the Roman Empire, which is really the bottom, the feet of the Roman Empire. Is that the Edomite continuation of the pagan Roman Empire, right? And this man hasn't been in captivity at all. Even in the Middle Ages, he wasn't in captivity. He was excommunicated from man, meaning that he was pushed into the wilderness. He became a wild man, right? Elder Tyler Dakba, he shows the images of Jake's fighting hairy-ass Edomites, men and women, right? But they weren't in slavery, right? They were being isolated and kept for a future time, which we're in now, which they were going to be the ones that were going to usher in the end of the age of the heathen. They were going to be the last group of heathens to rule. And then after that, the Israelites are going to rule. So what's going to happen when these devils, these Edomites, and these other nations, but we're talking about the Edomites right now, what's going to happen when the Israelites come back into power? Well, they're going into captivity. What's going to happen in that captivity? They're going to be killed, they're going to be destroyed with the sword. Because the same thing they did to us, they're going to get done to them. One of you brothers can post, 2 Thessalonians 1 and 6. Seen it as a righteous thing with the Most High to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you.
And like everything else, so he's about to be recompensed. But there's another point in Revelation chapter 13 onto the number of a man. And this just came out, earlier this year. It's probably been out for a while, but when you know that someone is the reincarnate of a man, an emperor, if you will, Nero Caesar, and the number of his name is 603 score and 6, that the geometric value is 603 score and 6, and that's the number of a man. I mean, how hard does that hit you, right? Causing all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive his mark, his determination, if you will, which is an implant. The implantable micro C-hip, everything's pointing that Donald Trump will be the main man that gets it out there. Of course, it's being brought to you by the Rothschild banking family because they want everybody chipped. And they want all the money on the chips. And you see where that's going, right? He calls it stable coin, but to the rest of the world, it is a central bank digital currency. But that the Rothschilds run, right? So, like everything else, though, we're here. And you can catch this brother's video. It's live right now. GMS Hawaii BA. And that's Science Trump is Nero 2.0. So, like everything else, though, we're watching things in real time. But nonetheless, though, his AI, these miracles of the beast, because that's part of the miracles as well. Well, what's it doing? It's causing the crash in the economy, right? They got robots to replace workers. BMW puts next generation humanoid robots to work on factory floors in South Carolina. Before humanoid robots entered the modern battlefield alongside ground bots and low-cost suicide drones, these bipedal robots are first being unleashed on factory floors and inside warehouses where the physical world of AI is beginning to take shape. Following the successful deployment of Figure 2 on the assembly line in 2025, our latest generation robot, Figure 3, arrived in Hall 52, one of the assembly and logistics hall at BMW Group plant Spartanburg. And by the way, these Germans, they're better known as the Tiemenites, right? So, is there no more wisdom left in Tiemann? Just pretty much so. These are the scientists and everything else. And look, they got AI, they got robots to replace them. They don't need you anymore. And yet everybody knows that the German cars are the best ones. Well, that's Tiemann, but, they created these to take over, So, there's no mirth left. And it's happening worldwide. Trump pardoned 6 prosecuted for fixing their car under the Biden-era emission rules, to give you the illusion that Biden and Trump were always at odds and ends. But, nonetheless, though, during the Biden administration, this is all true, the push for electric vehicles, etc., Slovakia. Oh, get off! Oh! God damn it! I didn't fucking ask for that! Alright, either way, he saw his pop-ups. President Trump on Friday announced pardons for 6 individuals that were prosecuted by the Biden administration for repairing their own vehicles, saying the cases were emblematic of regulatory overreach, because basically they tuned up their engines, etc. Which during that time period, these pardoned individuals were targeted under the Clean Air Act, because you remember there was a heavy push for that. Don't think that Trump ain't doing that, but he's giving you the illusion that, oh, well, we're going to get rid of a lot of these policies. These pardoned individuals were targeted under the Clean Air Act for allegedly disabling and tampering with vehicle emissions control systems, generally on commercial diesel trucks or personal vehicles. Individuals who installed defeat devices were pursued by the Environmental Protection Agency. Pretty much they didn't want to be regulated, so they tuned it up and they fixed it. On June 29, the president signed a presidential memorandum titled Lowering the Cost of Living by Promoting the Freedom to Fix. So this is an amendment that he had made. So you are allowed to bypass certain things. Oh, I wish they could get rid of the fucking goddamn... Because when it goes out, what do you call those? Cadillac converters. Because here in Fuckfarnia, boy, if you have to replace a fucking Cadillac converter, that's $2,000. At least it was on my Aveo. I can't imagine what it's going to be on the Jeep, but I'm going to try to keep some good insurance just in case, because those things are a fucking bitch. They're a fucking bitch and they're fucking expensive. And they're stupid. They have nothing to do with the engine itself. If you don't have a catalytic converter, your car is going to run just fine. You can run it without it. They're fucking stupid as hell, and the clean air is just nothing but bullshit. It's just another way of getting more money out of people. But isn't that what Esau's good at? Squeezing everything out of them? Russia launches largest attack against Kiev, killing at least 21. Russia has launched a massive missile and drone bombardment against Kiev on Thursday, which the Russian Foreign Ministry described as largest attack on the Ukraine capital, and said was response to Ukraine drone attacks that have killed civilians inside Russia. So there's been a lot of fighting going on. There's a whole video on this, so we're going to get into that.
Throughout the day on July 2nd, the Ukrainian capital experienced one of the most massive strikes of the entire conflict. Reports confirmed direct hits on key industrial and logistics targets across the city. Among those struck was Radionics, a critical defense electronics enterprise responsible for producing guidance systems for the long-range ground-launched Flamingo cruise missile, as well as the Firepoint 7 and 9 tactical ballistic missiles. Explosions also rocked Alta-Navia, another cornerstone of Ukraine's defense industrial base. Alta-Navia supplies the armed forces with the long-range AN-196 Luti drone, the Magura UA strike UAV, and a range of other unmanned systems and loitering munitions. Russian ballistic missiles also hit the Antonov plant, which develops, produces, and modifies long-range UAVs, including the AN-196 Luti. The Kiev radio plant's workshops were also struck. This leading defense enterprise is responsible for upgrading targeting systems for all types of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles produced in Ukraine. The plant also manufactures optical sights and guidance systems for armored vehicles. Massive fires broke out at the Chaika Transport and Logistics Center, where long-range drones, warheads, munitions, and a wide array of foreign supply components for weapons and military equipment were stored. A fuel depot designated KYIV-3 was also hit. This facility supplies diesel from the Novograd-Volyensky rail hub to military units of the Kiev garrison, including those providing air defense cover for military installations. The pattern of targets struck points to a clear strategic logic. Moscow is focusing its efforts on dismantling Ukraine's defense industrial base, particularly the high-tech manufacturing sector that supports Ukrainian drone production. The energy sector is the second priority. Russian-guided drones are destroying gas stations and fuel depots daily across regions bordering Russia. Serious fuel shortages have already emerged in the Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv oblasts, where lines of hundreds of vehicles have formed at gas stations. If these strikes continue, major regional centers risk grinding to a near standstill. It appears that the Russian leadership held back from this escalatory threshold for as long as possible. Kiev first launched systematic large-scale strikes against Russia's fuel sector, triggering real fuel shortages on Russian soil. Moscow is evidently determined to return the favor and then some, with the goal of paralyzing life in the border regions and major urban centers. Cities like Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, and Dnipro are the logistical pillars on which the entire Ukrainian military effort rests. By targeting these cities, Russian command hopes to break the Ukrainian army not on the battlefield, but from within through logistical collapse.
So, like everything else, so you can see where this is going, right? Because that's where all the minerals are. You know, because remember, Trump said, oh, well, we're only going to help you if you give us your minerals, right? Because Trump doesn't do anything for free, right? Because he wants to make America great again, you know. Just, you know, putting America first, but it's really putting the Israeli state first. And everybody sees what a fraud he is, okay? Yeah, they see what a fraud he is. They see that it's all about the Israeli state. It ain't about the hard-working American people, you know. And that's why a lot of people didn't even show up for Trump, because they can't fucking stand him. There's a few people that worship him, don't get me wrong, but the overall majority can't fucking stand him. You know, they're fucking tired of him, you know, and, you know, they don't like having a bigot in charge of everything, because they know he's a bigot. And they know that the people that follow him are nothing more than bigots, than, you know, KKK, etc. And Esau really does not like to acknowledge this, but, you know, where did the KKK come from? Well, it pretty much came from him. See, all Edomites have the same perpetual hatred. It's just that you got some snakes that don't bite anymore. You know, they're just tame snakes, but they're all snakes at the end of the day. You know, and I heard that from a brother that put it that way. It's like, man, you just a tame snake. You don't bite, but does that mean that I can trust all snakes? You know? And that's what was said at a camp, and I remember that. Is Tesla about to use facial recognition before activating full self-driving? Well, like everything else, so, yeah, you know, you got all this technology and facial recognition, these things keep an eye on you. Well, no wonder why there's been a push for electric vehicles. You know, all eyes on you. Tesla reporting prepared a series of updates, including one that would use a vehicle's cabin camera to verify driver's identity before activating full self-driving. If it sounds dystopian, this is likely the direction that connected smart car brands are headed. As vehicles becoming more autonomous, automakers will increase the need to verify who is behind the wheel before unlocking FSD functions. Well, it's even worse, because if you know what Ford is doing, it's even worse. You know, they got carbon blueprints. You know, and you're being recorded everywhere you go. West assassinated leader of unwavering support for Palestinian cause, and of course, you know, talking about Ansarallah, the movement, which, as you know, the Ansarallah movement is pretty, is part of the axis of resistance, especially in Yemen. The West assassinated leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Sayyid Khamenei, because of his leadership and efforts to support the liberation of Palestine, says a member of Yemen's Ansarallah resistance movement. During an interview on Sunday, Mohammed al-Baghdadi said Ayatollah Khamenei's influence extended far beyond Iran's borders. He described the martyr leader as a symbol of resistance and freedom for nations seeking independence from the American and Zionist domination, and the rest of the world is sick of it. They are tired of the U.S. dominance. That's why, like everything else, though, shameful spewing has been on Babylon, because at the same time they were celebrating 250 years, Iran was in a state of mourning because their leader. Now there's they're going to begin the 6 days as well. See, they're going to have a full-blown whole week of mourning. The mourning takes a lot longer than that, but the official mourning, where the whole nation is. Ayatollah Khamenei was martyred following the launch of the latest round of unprovoked U.S.-Israeli aggression against Iran on the 28th of February, triggering worldwide condemnation from Iran and its allies. Millions of Iranians and supporters of the Axis of Resistance across the region mourn his martyrdom, holding ceremonies and tributes in his honor. So, like everything else, though, you could see many had gathered. Iran begins 6-day state funeral for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Millions are expected to attend funeral ceremonies in Tehran as world leaders arrive and attention turns to the new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, who is a son of the martyred leader, Massive crowds of Iranians gathered in Tehran on Saturday as the country began 6 days of funeral ceremonies for the former supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei, more than 4 months after he was killed on the opening day of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran. And like everything else, though, you can see that here. Millions join funeral prayers for the martyred leader at Tehran's Grand Mosala. So we'll play it. You want to see crowds. Guaranteed the 4th of July didn't bring in crowds like this. Though you did have celebrations, but they were there just to see fireworks. They weren't with the American bullshit. Meaning that it's time to end the bullshit. And on the scene of things, I have to say it. He was a well-respected leader, and these Iranians know the Bible better than most. Well, we definitely know that they know him better than Christianity. They know the scriptures pretty well. Got to remember, during our captivity under the Mede-Persian Empire, we were kind of like we were joined with, and we put the hurt on Amalekites too, by the way. But we were treated pretty good during that captivity. So, pretty much though, they want vengeance. They want blood for blood, man, for what happened. And you can't blame them for that. Iran survived the first round. The next may be worse. The region enters a fragile pause with diplomacy, deterrence, and nuclear risk back at the center. Well, like everything else, though, they have a right to their nuclear program, which is for energy. At the start of the U.S. and Israeli military campaigns on Iran, we identified 7 lessons from the new conflict. Sanctions, we noted, are often followed by force. Pressure against Iran would be long-term concessions to the attacking side. wouldn't work. The leadership of the targeted country would become one of the main targets of internal unrest, would encourage external intervention, support for friendly states would matter, but wouldn't solve the victims' problems, and finally the balance of power would remain the decisive factor in security affairs. So like everything else, so they prevailed. They survived. That's all they had to do was survive. In the Persian Gulf crisis, the U.S. and Israeli state inflicted serious damage on Iran, but they failed to crush their opponent. They also appear to have judged further escalating a ground invasion too risky, and the result was a retreat from the objective of destroying the enemy and turn a country towards diplomacy. Well, like everything else, though. It was a failed coup, because you can call it a coup because that's what they were trying to do before. You know, with the, so-called insurrections, which, the people quickly turned to the side of the government just right before they assassinated Ayatollah Khamenei. Because the internal affairs, they figured out what was going on. And most of those were terror groups installed by Mossad. Anyways, and the others that actually had grievances, well, they were never looking for leadership change. So Mossad tried to go in and re-influence them, but like everything else, though, it was a failed coup attempt. So then the U.S. and Israeli state struck Iran and then killed Ayatollah Khamenei, their main leader, but they killed a lot of other people too. That's what the Israeli state and the U.S. always do, and the world is sick of it. 3 sons of Iran's slain leader, Khamenei, appear at the funeral, not his successor. Mojtaba Khamenei made no public appearance at funeral prayers in Tehran, where state television showed 3 of the late supreme leader's sons in attendance. And there's probably a reason for it, because, like everything else, though, of course they're a target by the Israeli state. And so he has to remain protected. The 3 sons of the slain leader prayed beside his coffin, and those of the 4 other family members on Sunday. But Mojtaba, the son who succeeded him as Iran's supreme leader, did not make an appearance. There was still no public sighting or image released of Mojtaba, said to have been injured in the attack that killed his father and the other family members on the 28th of February, when Israeli state and the U.S. bombed Iranian targets since the start of the war. Mojtaba Khamenei's face was disfigured, and he suffered a significant injury to one or both legs. People close to his inner circle told news agency Reuters. So, for obvious reasons, there's that too. The morning after the Lebanon agreement, of course, the Israeli state, and you got, this so-called deal, which means that the Israeli state can do whatever it wants. Document signed in D.C. gives Israel a green light to continue its occupation of Lebanese territory. Yep, because this is what it's really all about. There was a 19th century Orionist traveler and diplomat by the name of Urgat, who said about Mount Lebanon that there was never a country for which God has done so much, nor people who could do less for themselves. Lebanon remains a paradoxical central node, sideshow Western imperialism today of the U.S.-Israeli project appears to be trying to recover in and via Lebanon what it's lost in its unsuccessful war on Iran. So they're just thinking that they're just going to take over Lebanon without Hezbollah, and that the rest of the Lebanese government, as you know, is trying to help the Israeli state to do that, which, they're not an acting government. They're a joke. Israeli strikes near hospital, demolishes homes in southern Lebanon despite framework deal, which was pretty much given a green light by the U.S. Iran knows about this. So that's why the strait remains closed. On the 3rd of July, Israeli terrorists carried out fresh airstrikes and home demolitions in southern Lebanon on Thursday, despite framework agreements signed last week between Beirut and Tel Aviv. According to the NNA, Israeli drones struck Goban Hospital in the town of Nablat al-Fawwa in the Nablat district. In Bint Jubba district, Israeli warplanes launched airstrike on the town of Brashit through though there was no immediate word on casualties or material damage. So, just continues on and on. Syria's self-appointed president handpicks his final 70 parliament speakers. The Syrian public has not been allowed to participate in the selection of any parliament members, allowing al-Jilani, the former al-Qaeda leader, ISIS leader as well, to consolidate his power through his new legislative body, which is very loyal to the Israeli state. Following months of delay, Syrian authorities on the 2nd of July released the names of 70 legislators handpicked by Syria's self-appointed president for a transitional parliament. See, transitional means Israeli influence. The head of Syria's electoral committee, Mohammed Taha al-Hamad, said on Thursday that the new 210-member legislature will hold its first meeting on Monday. The parliament's new members will be sworn in, while a presidential council for the legislative body will be elected. So, pretty much so. Yep, this is a transitional government, all loyal to ISIS.
ختيار حرقينه هوني على كرسته للزلمي مريض سكر حرقينه على عكازه هوني وهو طيب حرقينه للشيخ هوني وهو طيب.
Okay, that's...
هذا صورته للشيخ.
Alright, there it is.
الله يرحمه الله يرحمه. هذا صورة الشيخ طبعا قاعد يخطي لك شو عم ياكل، ما في اكل ما في دواء ما في مي. شوف شو عم ياكل، كبلوا له ايديه ربطوا له
A lot of
ايديه.
this is blurred. I'm not sure.
وحرقوا له بيته. شوفوا كمية الرصاص.
So,
كمية الرصاص.
for the third consecutive day, demolition continues in the towns of Al-Mawsa. Let me check that out.
أوضاع مأساوية. المجازر اللي قاموا فيها
Reportedly aimed at displacing residents, Syrian citizens from the Shia community, amid silence from the media. So, pretty much so. Yeah, just the war goes on and on. Because, no, a transitional government means a total Al-Qaeda type government that the U.S. and Israeli state have its influence on. That's what it is. And Turkey was part of that too, by the way. But you know that Turkey is part of the Amalekites too, just on the Muslim side. Because if you know about the breakup of the Khazarian army, or which is the Amalekites, some chose Islam, the other ones controlled Judaism. You know, the Talmud. But neither one of them are our people. You know, Amalek is not the people of the Most High, but they pretend to be Israel. Israeli state is not leaving Lebanon, and Syria will be next. Israeli state refuses to withdraw. Hezbollah's refusal to disarm, and new strikes near the Golan Heights point to a conflict that is expanding, not ending. Of course, Israel has no intention of leaving Lebanon. At least it won't do so now on the terms that would suit Beirut. Moreover, in parallel, the Lebanese campaign West Jerusalem is reactivating operations against Syria. Israeli terrorists launched artillery strike on the village of Abanah in the western part of Syria's Dara governorate. According to regional sources, Israeli aircraft conducted flights over the rural areas of Dara and Kornicha governorates near the Golan Heights. So, like everything else, though, the new Syrian government ain't going to do anything about it because, you know, they're totally loyal to King Bibi and the U.S. Turkey builds spaceport in Somalia, setting off alarms in the Israeli state. So like everything else, though, if you know anything about Somaliland, which is a part that the Israeli state controls, well, Turkey, which is the other part of Amalek, has a lot of influence in Somalia, so this is a threat. Because you got to remember, the Israeli state's after Turkey next. You know, so you can see a lot more conflict. Ankara's expanding military presence in Somalia coincides with the Israeli efforts to project power in the region through partnership with Somaliland, see? So like everything else, though, Amalek having its influence in the region. Turkey is building an advanced space base in Somalia that could be used to launch satellites and ballistic missiles over large swatches of Africa and West Asia, sparking concern among Israel's military establishment. So like everything else, though, it's a conflict of interest. So you already know that they're going to be going to war very soon in the region. You know, because the Israeli state has already promised now. I got one more here. but pretty much though it's about the mark of the beast. You know, because we know that the MOTB, well, it's going to come in this administration, because it's not coincidence that you know, the number of his name, Nero Caesar, is 603 score and 6. And at the rate things are going, it's looking like it's going to happen under the administration of DJ Trump. Not to mention, we've gone into it time and time again that he is the Nero reincarnate. So it makes perfect sense that the number of his name is 603 score and 6. On top of the fact that the Rothschilds are going to make it happen. Revelation chapter 13, verse 14, he deceives those who inhabit the earth into believing him because of the signs which he has given to perform in the presence of the first beast. You know, aka the things that Nero's able to do. You know, and telling those who inhabit the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded fatally by the sword and has come back to life, meaning the revised Roman Empire. You know, and he is given power to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast will speak and cause those who do not bow down and worship the image of the beast to put to death. So you don't, conform to the new world order, you're going to be put to death. And he compels all, the small and the great, the rich and the poor, the free men and the slaves, to be given a mark in the right hand or in their forehead, solidifying their allegiance to the beast. So pretty much though, you have to solidify yourself to the image of the beast. I love this amp version of it. And that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. So pretty much though, you don't have the approval, you don't have that stamp of approval, because, some people call the mark a stamp, which is an implant. If you don't have that implant of approval, you're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to pretty much be terminated. Not to mention, they do have those guillotines. And Donald Trump in his first term bragged about the guillotines and bringing them back, if you remember that. So, hey man, we're in the regeneration of Nero, and we're at the end of Nero's kingdom, which is Rome, all over again. So we're seeing the fall of Rome. And that's why all these countries are taking up a parallel against him. It will happen in our time. So, got one more here before I close this out. But I want to say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadosh, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatam Jehovah Lek. Esau wants to take control over your mind. And that is having an implantable device in you, as this brother goes into. Shalom.
Alright, Shalom. Call Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakakodash, love honors to the apostles, and to the elders of Great Millstone, and ruling teach well, most peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect that are pushing this word in truth and sincerity for Shalom. It's the word of the Taka Juniors for us to back at you again with another lesson. And Lord willing, this lesson be edifying to the hopeful elect of Yasharala. The title of this lesson is going to be E1's control over your mind, or something along those lines. And this lesson is going to be about the MOTB, which is an abbreviation for the mark of the beast. We understand, we know that the mark of the beast, according to prophecy, is alive and well today, and it is the RFID microchip, or the NFC chip, and it's also the Neuralink. Esau wants to put these devices inside of your body, and ultimately, he will gain control over your body, your whole life, and everything that you do, because you will be a slave inside of his digital prison, his technocracy, which is a society ruled by technology. Artificial intelligence is going to be the thing that's going to rule, is the driving force for Esau's NWO. That's why everything is going digital. You have the Internet of Things, and you have the Internet of Bodies, I believe. That's what it's called. This fourth industrial revolution, Apostle Hart been doing videos about the fourth industrial revolution. Just type in Google, does the fourth industrial revolution revolution involves microchipping humans. Let's see. It says the fourth industrial revolution, often called 4IR, is a period where digital, physical, and biological technologies blend together. While it does not require everyone to be microchipped, it does involve the creation of technology that bridges the gap between human and computers. Why the fuck does this shit want to play with me, man? That's the same damn thing, bro. Saying it blurs the lines. It's saying you're microchipping people, man. Like this is just fancy talk. Future employer are humans with microchips in their brains the future of work? The answer is yes. See? Do you see this, man? Do you see this? I just typed in this question, but then I had to change it. I had to change the wording and look at the answer. It says, yes, microchipping is a core part of the fourth industrial revolution. Why the fuck did he just say it wasn't? You see how this shit be doing? This is a live and this is actual live evidence how Esau you gotta word it right in order to get the answer that you want, because these devils really be trying to cover shit up, you know? They really be trying to not answer the question, you know, even though I typed in microchipping humans, it said no, but I typed in microchipping, it says yes. You see? It says, yes, microchipping is the core part of the fourth industrial revolution. It says the fourth industrial, 4IR, defined by the blending of physical, digital, and biological. Bio means body. And the biological is something that's had to do with your body. It says biological worlds. Microchipping makes this possible by connecting physical objects and living things to the digital network. See? You see? The Internet of Things. That's what I was just saying. Microchips turn every object into smart devices. Like you got smart TVs, smart refrigerator, smart this, that, and the third. You get the point. It says they let machines share data in real time. For example, microchip in a factory machine can track performance and predict when a repair is needed before a breakdown. Human implants, microchips the size of a grain of rice, which is the RFID microchip, can be placed under the skin. These chips use radio frequency identification, RFID, see, or NFC, near field communication. They let people unlock doors, pay for items, or store medical data with a simple wave of their hand. See, this is what Esau is bringing. And right now in Sweden, there are thousands of people, or hundreds of people, probably more now, that actually have microchips for these purposes. You see? So this is literally happening. It ain't something that's going to happen. It's something that's happening now. People are being microchipped. You see? And it's all about controlling your mind. Esau wants control of you. And we're going to show you in this video a couple examples of how Esau's going to do that. You know, he got Neuralink, which is a brain chip, and the RFID microchip as well. I just want to focus specifically on brain chips because the scripture says, in your right hand or your foreheads. And the forehead, what is that? Your brain. Brain chipping. So I'm about to part, and we're going to get into it. And Lord willing, this is edifying to the hopeful elect. Let me see. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Biological tracking. It says microchips placed in pets, livestock, or wildlife allow for instant data, that digital tracking. They hold unique identification numbers that are scanned to help reunite lost pets with owners or track the spread of animal disease. So you're going to be the pets in the New World Order now. So in this lesson, I wanted to focus on something called the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia. It says the basal ganglia are a group of subcortical nuclei deep within the brain's cerebral hemispheres. They are primarily responsible for motor functions, such as initiating or inhibiting voluntary movements, as well as motor learning, executive function, behaviors, and emotions. So this is a very important part of your brain. And as you can see, what does it look like? What does your basal ganglia look like? It looks like an eye. You see that? It looks exactly like an eye. Let's type that in. Look like an eye. I find that very, very interesting that your basal ganglia looks exactly like an eye. It says the basal ganglia are deep brain structures that control body movements. They look like an eye when sliced horizontally. The caudate nucleus curves around like an eyelid. The pentamen sits in the middle. The globus pallidus looks like a dark pupil. These structures act as an automatic stop and start switch for your muscles. They make moving smooth. They are simple. They use simple brain chemicals to do the job. Imagine a braking system in a car. The basal ganglia hold back unwanted movements so you can do what you want. An issue can cause muscle stiffness, a famous example in Parkinson's disease. See? So, if you experience damage to your basal ganglia, these are the symptoms that you exude. Basal ganglia lesions, I'm probably saying it wrong, lesions disrupt motor control and cognition, resulting in involuntary movements, which are tremors, chorea, muscle rigidity, slow or absent voluntary movements, and walking with posture difficulties. Cognitive and emotional changes like word finding trouble, memory loss, and empathy can also occur. So as you can see, this is a very, very important part of your brain. And if you don't, it's not in a good state, it can cause you a lot of trouble in your everyday lives. This is damage to the basal ganglia cells may cause problems controlling speech, movement, and posture. So this is a very important part of your brain. Now, why are we talking about the basal ganglia? Now let's go here. Hold on. This is why we were focusing on the basal ganglia, because brain chips connect to your basal ganglia. It says brain chips and implants can connect to the basal ganglia depending on the type of device and its medical purposes. Since the basal ganglia is a group of structures deep within the brain that help control your movements and behaviors. The way a brain chip interacts with this region depends on the technology used. Deep brain stimulation, DBS. These are medical devices surgically placed deep into the basal ganglia, such as the subthalamic nucleus to treat movement disorders like Parkinson's disease. These chips send targeted electronic pulses to stop the abnormal brain signals that cause tremors and stiffness. Brain-computer interfaces. Consumer or research devices like Neuralink usually sit on the surface of the cerebral cortex, the brain's outer layer. Rather than deep structures like the basal ganglia, these surface chips read your intentions to move and send them to the computer. However, the brain's cortex naturally communicates with the basal ganglia to execute those actions. Bear with me 1 second. Technology and I have to take the phone call, right? Slot here. I have to take that phone call. All right. So the microchips, brain chips, are going to basically communicate regularly or control or transmit to your basal ganglia. You know, that part of your brain. And that right there shows you that if Esau puts that technology inside of your brain, he literally wants to control your brain. He wants to control you. And that's exactly what the RFID microchip is going to do. It's going to control you. Revelation chapter 13, in verse 15, it says, "And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." So the image of the beast is talking about the system that goes back to the Roman Empire, the system that America set up, that goes back, it traces its roots to the Roman Empire. The same system that was alive and well in the Roman Empire is back and alive today through America, because America is Rome. You see, America is that beast. You see, NATO and the EU are a part of it as well, because those are also territories of the ancient Roman Empire. That same system that was back then is alive and well today, that is the image of the beast, the revival of Rome in America, but it's using technology or artificial intelligence. It's definitely a part of the image of the beast. You see, this digital, the fourth industrial revolution as well. The revival of Rome here in America. The same shit, different toilet. And if you don't follow into this system, you're going to be killed. You're going to be disconnected from society. Let's see what that is. Verse 15. Speak word.
Strong's G 615. Apartino.
It says to kill in any way, whatever, and to destroy or allow to perish, therefore to extinguish, abolish, inflict mortal death, to deprive of spiritual life, and procure eternal misery in hell. So if you don't want to follow this system, you're going to be cut off from society, and ultimately you're going to be killed. Because that's what it's going to lead to, ultimately. Because this is what we finna get into. Verse 16, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. See, so everybody's going to be forced to take that chip, and those chips are literally going to control you. You're not going to have no freedoms anymore. You think you live in America and you think this is a land of freedom? No. If Esau puts the system into place, then you will have no freedoms whatsoever. You are going to be completely controlled. He's going to control your mind. He's going to control your body. He's going to control your actions. He already controls everything around you. Look around you. Think about everything that you control. Do you control the food supply? No, you don't. Do you control the water supply? No, you don't. Do you control electricity? No. Do you control your money? The money that goes into your account? No, you do not. You don't control anything as it is. You think you do, but you don't. Everything that we have, it's not ours. Miss a payment and see if it's yours. Because it's not. So everything is around us is already controlled. And when he puts that chip in you, you're literally going to be controlled. Through and through. All your money is going to be, he's going to have access to all of that. So he is literally going to make people a slave through his technology. It's going to be a digital slave prison. Verse 17 says that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. So you're not going to be able to buy. You're not going to be able to sell. How are you going to live or exist if you can't buy anything? You can't sell. That means you can't make no payments on anything if you don't have this. It means you're going to be cut off. It's like I'm a little tired, but it means you're going to be literally cut off from society, man. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for is the number of a man, and his number is 603, which is 666. That's Esau's number. That's his calling card. It's imprinted on every barcode here in America. The letters
and the number of Nero Caesar.
You see it everywhere. You see it in certain logos, like the CERN logo.
Yep.
Because that's Esau's number, man. He's the adversary of the Most High. You remember what Biden said? 6 months, or 6 days, 6 months, or 6 months, 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. That's what Biden said a couple years ago when he was in office. Because that's Esau's number, man. That's how you know that this identifies with this current regime, this current world. That's how you know it links up to the times we're living in now. Because of that number, 603, 666. You see 666 all over this place, man. This is an indication. It's a marker. It's a sign, if you will, man. Who this is. Who he's talking about. Esau, the so-called white man. So when Esau puts those microchips inside of you, he is literally going to control your basal ganglia. Which your basal ganglia is used to control a lot of your motor functions. The basal ganglia are a group of subcortical brain structures responsible for selecting and initiating voluntary motor actions, controlling eye movements, and regulating emotional responses. So Esau is going to have control over all of those things. You see, he's going to literally control you like a puppet. Motor control and action. See what it says. It says the dark side of microchipping the basal ganglia, the deep brain area that controls movement and habits, revolves around severe physical, psychological, and ethnical risks. While a theoretical concept is consumer technology, such implants are a reality in medicine. It's not really saying shit. The point is, I can't really find the information that links to what I want to I would like to go into, but when Esau puts that chip inside of your brain, he is literally going to have control over you, and that's what this lesson is all about. The enemy's going to have control over you. Let's see. This is the book of Psalms 62:10. It says, trust not in oppression, and become not vain in robbery. If riches increase, set not thine heart upon them. So, trust not in oppression. I wanted to go into that because how people trust in oppression. Oppression is the cruel or unjust use of power or authority. It says a pressing down, violence, oppression, press against, press together, press down, figuratively crush, pull down, put down, subdue, procure relentlessly. So Esau is putting a very, very oppressive system into place. And it behooves you to never trust in it. Don't trust in Esau. Don't trust in Esau's technology. Because ultimately it's going to gain control of your whole entire life. So I just wanted to go into this real quick about your basal ganglia and how Esau is literally connecting your microchips to it. And by doing that, he will literally have control of you. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to close out by giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Makakodash, the honors to the apostles, and to the elders, great millstone that rules as well. The Lord commands us not to take the RFID microchip, or the NFC chip, or the brain chip. None of it. The Most High don't want us to do that. So we got to be prepared to sacrifice ourselves if it comes to that. And that's going for me first and foremost. So with that, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I'm going to close out by giving all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Makakodash, the honors to the apostles, and to the elders, great millstone that rules as well. Shalom.